The sun in the Goya's interior didn't simply rise, it exploded into the horizon like a furnace being opened. It washed over the fields of Fazenda Santa Esperanza, burning the mist, illuminating the fences, and throwing long shadows behind the cattle as they started to move. It was December 2023, and the world smelled of dust, grass, diesel, and the faint sweetness of ripe pecky falling from trees. Antonio Ferreira pressed his palms on the wooden railing of the corral and watched his 7 children run in every direction like wild sparrows. Their laughter carried through the pasture, rising above the cries of cattle, the barks of 2 old mutts, and the endless hum of cicadas. His beard was rough, his hands scarred, his shoulders permanently bent forward from years of lifting, pulling, branding, fixing, building. He was 42 and looked both older and younger depending on the angle of sunlight that hit him. 2 years had passed since cancer had taken Nusa. 2 years since the house had become noisier, messier, emptier. 2 years since everything warm had disappeared from his mornings. And still, every dawn, 7 pairs of eyes waited for him at the table. Lucas, 16, already the height of a grown man, trying desperately to be the second father of the family before learning how to be a son. Anna, 14, quiet as dusk, always carrying the baby on her hip even when her back ached. Mateus, 11, clever enough to fix the tractor but not clever enough to avoid setting the chicken coop on fire last month. Julia and Elisa, the twins of 9, hurricane souls who carried laughter like weapons. Gabriel, 7, whose energy could power the entire state of Goyas. And little Maria, 3-year-old whirlwind, hair always tangled, face always sticky, heart always full. Nusa had been the gravity that held them all in orbit. Without her, the house spun wildly, drifting further into chaos with each sunrise. Antonio rubbed his temples. He had tried everything, hired help, his sister-in-law from Para who lasted only 5 days, 2 neighbors who fled after a week, babysitters who quit before breakfast. The children weren't bad, they were simply, many. Too many. And each one carried grief in their own way, messy, loud, silent, explosive. One day, while unloading sacks of corn from Zay Ducamenho's battered truck, Zay had lowered his hat and said, "Greater than, Tinho, Mu or Mao, you need a woman in that house before it collapses or before you collapse." Antonio snorted, "Where am I supposed to find one?" "At the cattle auction." Zay shrugged. "Put an ad in the Jornalzinho Regional. Women read that thing more than the Bible." Antonio had laughed. At the time. But that night, after all 7 were finally asleep, or pretending to be, he sat at the kitchen table, lit a single lamp, took out a lined sheet of paper, and began to write slowly, carefully, like a student in his first day back to school. Greater than, widower, 42. 7 children. Honest, hardworking. Looking for a serious woman willing to build a home in the countryside. He wrote what he could offer. A house of brick, a roof that mostly didn't leak, cattle that weren't sick, land that was fertile, a heart that was wounded but not closed. 3 weeks later, letters started showing up in the rusted mailbox at the front gate. 19 women in total. 19 hopes. 19 disappointments. Maria Clara, the teacher from Goiânia, who took one look at the army of children running toward her and froze. The nurse who stayed for an afternoon, then ran after seeing the twins fighting with slingshots on the roof. The widow from Mato Grosso who made it through a full night before being woken by crying, barking, a baby with fever, and Lucas practicing the viola at sunrise. Each one left with a version of the same phrase. Greater than, you're a good man, Antonio, but I can't do this. By the time the 19th woman disappeared down the dusty road, Antonio felt something inside him snap. Something between pride and pain and exhaustion. He gathered the remaining letters in a metal bowl, lit them with a kitchen match, and watched them curl into smoke. Enough, he whispered. No more hope. Hope just breaks a man. But fate has a way of showing up when a man has finished praying, or worse, stopped believing. On a Wednesday morning in late November, the mailman left an envelope unlike the others. Light blue. Clean. Smelling faintly of lavender. No photo inside. Just a letter. The handwriting was round, steady, confident. Greater than, Dear Mr. Ferreira. I read your advertisement 3 times. I am also a widow. I have 6 children, aged 4 to 17. Their father died in an accident on the BR-0604 years ago. I raised them alone. I work as a seamstress and cook. I do not fear work, nor children. If your offer still stands, I would like to meet you, with respect, and with sincerity. Helena Cristina de Jesus, Rio Verde, Goiás. Antonio stood in the doorway reading and rereading until the words ingrained themselves in his bones. 7 plus 6. 13. It sounded less like a family and more like a biblical plague. And yet, his heart beat louder than it had in months. He showed the letter to Lucas, to Anna, to his compadre, and even to the parish priest. All reacted with the same stunned silence. But silence is better than laughter. Silence meant possibility. That Sunday morning, the sun rose hotter than usual, an omen, maybe. Antonio shaved, something he hadn't done in weeks. He put on a clean shirt. He lined up his children on the veranda, brushing hair, straightening collars, pinching ears when necessary. Then the van arrived, a squeaky white combi that rattled like an old donkey. The door slid open, and Helena stepped out. She wasn't the kind of beauty that struck like thunder, more like rain after drought. Gentle but life-giving. Her hair was tied into a perfect low bun, her dress simple but immaculate, her posture regal despite the road dust. Her 6 children stepped out behind her like disciplined little soldiers, though their eyes were wide, curious, cautious. 17-year-old Maria stood tall, arms crossed like a queen protecting her realm. 15-year-old José's handshake was firm, eyes sharp like a hawk's. 13-year-old Clara carried a notebook pressed to her chest as if it were a shield. The younger 3, Pedro, Lucia, and little Joãozinho, clung to their mother's skirt with a mixture of fear and expectation. Even the dogs went silent. Antonio stepped forward, hat in hand. "Welcome, to the chaos." A small smile grazed her lips. "Chaos just means there's life. Mine ain't that different." Children stared. Then, by some miracle of heaven or mischief, Lucas stepped forward and asked José. "You play soccer?" José's grin was instant. "Every day." Within minutes, balls flew. Dust rose. Voices shouted. The twins declared war on Pedro. Little Maria tugged Joãozinho into the yard. And suddenly, 13 children felt, not like 2 armies, but one. Antonio and Helena ended up in the kitchen, alone, sipping coffee that tasted stronger than courage and weaker than truth. "My husband died under a truck," she said softly. "I raised them alone. They're good kids but tired. Tired of losing." He nodded. "Mine too." They talked for hours, about money, discipline, grief, school, God, chores, dreams. She spoke like a woman who built her world from scraps. He listened like a man thirsty for kindness. When the afternoon shadows stretched long, Helena gathered her brood. "We should go." But the children revolted immediately. "Can't we stay for dinner?" "Sleepover." "Mother, please." Antonio cleared his throat. "If you want, there's space. Lots of space." Helena looked at the children mixing like paint in a bucket, laughing, shouting, tugging each other's sleeves. Her voice softened. "Only if we talk tomorrow, Antonio. Properly. 13 children is a responsibility too big to leave to feelings." That night, every room in the house was full. Children snored, giggled, whispered secrets. Helena slept in the guest room with the door open, cautious but not afraid. Antonio, lying alone, stared at the ceiling. For the first time in 2 years, the house felt alive. For the first time in 2 years, he felt something dangerous. Hope. But hope comes with a shadow. And Helena's shadow was bigger than she had admitted. Because 3 towns away, a man in a white suit and gold rings opened a ledger with her name on it. And growled, "Time's up, Helena. I'm coming." Helena's secret fully revealed. Rising danger. Antonio forced to choose between safety and love. Children involved in high-stakes scenes. The turning point of the story. Star Part 2, The Threat at the Gate. Approximately equals 2,000 cinematic prose words. More drama, darker suspense, deeper emotion. The storm rolled over the Goiás sky 3 days after Helena's first visit. Not rain, but a strange pressure in the air, the kind that tells even cattle something is shifting. The horizon looked bruised. The wind carried dust and heat and a whisper of warning. Inside the 3-story farmhouse, the 13 children were louder than the thunder that refused to fall. Laughter bounced off the walls. Little Maria chased Joãozinho with a wooden spoon. Lucas and José fixed the old radio. The twins unsuccessfully tried to teach Clara how to whistle. It was chaos, glorious, maddening, healing chaos. Antonio stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching Helena fold blankets near the fireplace. She was staying for a few days to help organize the house. Only a few days. That's what she kept insisting. But something in her eyes, a heaviness, a haste, said there was more to it. He finally asked, "Why do you look over your shoulder every time the wind blows?" Helena froze. Just for half a second. But that was enough. "I'm not," she said. "You are. You've been doing it since the moment you stepped off that van." Helena exhaled. Her shoulders slumped. "Let's put the kids to bed first." By 10 o'clock, the house had quieted. For the first time, 13 children slept under the same roof, tangled in blankets, spread across mattresses, some lying sideways, some hugging siblings they had met only days ago. They looked like a tribe destined long before they ever met. On the veranda, the night wrapped the house in thick darkness. Crickets buzzed. A cow lowed in the distance. The smell of wet soil hung in the air, though the rain had yet to come. Helena stood by the railing, fingers nervously smoothing her skirt. Antonio leaned beside her. "Helena, talk to me. Whatever it is, I can't help if I don't know. I didn't want to bring trouble into your home. You brought life. Trouble comes free with it." She gave a small, sad smile. Then she spoke. "He wasn't always bad, the man I married. Joao. He drove trucks. Hard worker. But he gambled, drank, borrowed money. From all kinds of people." Her hands were trembling now. "When he died in that crash, the debts didn't die with him." Antonio's jaw tightened. "How much?" "A little over 100,000 Ray." He inhaled sharply, but he didn't flinch. "I paid what I could. Sewing, cooking, cleaning houses. Sometimes 3 jobs a day. My kids helped. We lived cramped in a little place in Rio Verde. But, the man who holds the last debt, he's not a bank. He's not even a loan shark." Antonio frowned. "Then what is he?" Helena's voice dropped to a whisper. "A collector." The word carried a weight that made the cicadas outside go silent. "He came to my house once," she continued. "Said I had until March. If I didn't pay, he'd take what was owed in other ways." Antonio felt heat burn up his spine. "He threatened your children." She nodded. "And when he found out I was traveling to meet someone, he said he'd follow." Antonio's voice was steady, but his hands were fists. "What's his name?" "Raimundo Braga." The name felt like poison in the air. A long, heavy silence passed between them. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Antonio asked. "Because you've already lost so much, Antonio. I didn't want to be another burden. I didn't want to see disappointment in your eyes like I saw in every other man I tried to ask for help." He touched her hand, gently, but firmly. "Look at me." She did. "There is nothing you could tell me that makes you a burden. You're a woman trying to protect her children. That alone makes you the strongest person I've ever met." Her lips trembled. She blinked back tears. For a moment, just a moment, she leaned into his chest. But the moment shattered like glass. A sudden engine roared outside. A car approached the gate, fast. Helena gasped. "No. He found us." Antonio grabbed his jacket. "Stay on the veranda. Keep the kids inside." "No, please. Helena, stay." He strode through the yard, boots pounding the dirt. Dust rose around him. The headlights cut through the darkness, blinding him for a second. A sleek black sedan stopped at the gate. 2 men stood beside it, tall, thick, the kind who fight not with fists but with cruelty. And then the third man stepped out. Short, stocky, wearing an immaculate white suit that glowed under the truck's headlights. Rings on every finger. A smile too smooth to be real. Raimundo Braga. Boa noite, Fazendiro. Raimundo shouted, voice oily and theatrical. Beautiful land. Beautiful night. Who knew romance still existed in Brazil? Antonio didn't open the gate. Didn't move closer. This is private property. Raimundo clucked his tongue. Everything is property until someone pays enough for it. The goons laughed. Antonio didn't. What do you want? Oh, just a woman who belongs to me. Raimundo lit a cigarette with an engraved lighter. Helena Cristina. Widow. Seamstress. Mother of 6. Owes me 100 grand. You might have heard of her. Antonio's voice became steel. She's not yours. Raimundo exhaled smoke and smiled. Everything is mine when it's unpaid. Antonio's hand hovered near the gate latch. Not to open, but ready to fight. You're not taking her. Or the kids. Raimundo tilted his head, amused. You think I want the children? No, no, Fazendiro. I'm a businessman, not a monster. Children are fragile. A long pause. Unless someone forces my hand. Antonio snapped. Leave, now. Raimundo's smile faded. You're making a mistake. He stepped closer, fingers tapping the gate. Do you know what a man does when he's owed 100,000 and he's tired of waiting? Antonio stepped forward. Yeah, he gets disappointed. And leaves. Raimundo's eyes went cold. I'll be back next week. With papers. Either she pays, or I take something worth more. He tapped the gate twice and turned back toward the car. Before entering, he called out. Oh, and Antonio. You have a beautiful house. Shame if it caught fire. The engine roared, and the car disappeared down the dirt road, leaving the smell of gasoline and threat behind. Antonio stood in the dust long after the headlights vanished. When he returned to the veranda, Helena was crying. Silently, she covered her face when she saw him. I'm sorry, she whispered. I shouldn't have come. I should have stayed in Rio Verde, worked harder, paid it on my own. He grabbed her shoulders gently but firmly. Helena, look at me. She did, through tears. You are not alone anymore. Not with this, not with anything. She shook her head. You don't understand. He can hurt you. Your kids. He can destroy everything you've built. Antonio's voice cracked for the first time. I lost Nusa. I survived that pain. I can survive any threat. But I won't survive watching you walk away. Helena froze, breath held, tears stilled, heart pulled tight. Don't leave, he whispered. Please. For the first time since Joao's death, she felt the weight of her life lift just enough to breathe. Before she could answer, footsteps approached. Lucas stepped onto the veranda, chest heaving, eyes fierce. I heard everything, he said. If that man comes back, I'll protect our family. Our family. Not yours. Not theirs. Our. Helena's knees buckled. Antonio caught her before she fell. She wasn't crying from fear anymore. She was crying from something far more dangerous. Belonging. The next day, the sky finally broke open. Rain fell like a blessing and a warning. Mud coated the farm. The children splashed in puddles while Helena cooked enough food to feed a battalion. But inside the house, a storm of a different kind brewed. Antonio gathered Lucas and Jose, both nearly men, both ready to fight if they had to. He told them the truth. Told them Raimundo might come back. Told them they needed a plan. The boys didn't hesitate. We protect the house, Lucas said. We protect the girls, Jose added. And we protect them, Lucas nodded toward Helena's room. All of them. That night, when everyone slept, Antonio sat alone at the kitchen table, the same place he had written his desperate letter weeks before. He stared at the wooden surface. Then he made a decision that split him open. He would end this, whatever it cost. Because love, he realized, isn't just what warms a man. Sometimes love is what burns him alive. But Helena wasn't finished hiding. She came to him late at night, rain pounding the clay roof. I have one more thing to confess, she whispered. Antonio looked up, exhausted. More. Helena's voice trembled. The debt isn't the only thing he wants. Antonio's blood ran cold. What else? Her eyes filled with terror. Me. The rain had stopped overnight, but the scent of wet earth clung to the morning like a memory that refused to fade. John woke before the sun, as he always did, but something felt different. The air was too still, too quiet, as if the land itself were holding its breath. He turned softly in the bed. Maria wasn't there. Her side was cold. A razor of fear cut through him. He stood quickly and stepped into the hallway. The house was dim, lit only by the faint glow of dawn pressing against the curtains. He listened, holding the moment still. No voices. No footsteps. No clatter from the kitchen. Something was wrong. He passed the children's rooms, every one of them still sleeping. Except, Lily's bed was empty too. His heart stopped. The trail. John raced down the stairs, chest tightening with each step. On the kitchen table lay a single folded note with his name written in Maria's familiar handwriting. His fingers trembled as he opened it. John, don't come after us. Lily is safe with me. This is something I must handle alone. Please trust me. Maria. The room spun. John gripped the back of a chair, his jaw clenched so tight it hurt. She didn't, he whispered. But she had. She'd left. With his daughter. To face the man who had already nearly killed her. Miguel. Salazar. John crushed the letter in his hand. He had trusted her, believed she felt safe here, believed she would stay. Instead, Maria had walked straight into the storm. He grabbed his coat, boots, and rifle, slinging it over his shoulder, not as a threat, but as a warning to the world that he would not lose another person he loved. Not this time, never again. Maria's road. 3 hours earlier, Maria had driven the old pickup along the deserted back road, Lily asleep beside her, clutching her stuffed rabbit. The world was still dark then. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. She kept both hands steady on the wheel, though her chest felt tight. Her reflection stared back at her in the windshield, pale, determined, exhausted. Miguel had sent a message, 2 words that shattered her. I found you. Threat followed threat. Her children's names. John's farm. Every weakness. She couldn't let him near them. She wouldn't let her past burn the family she had finally found. So she made her choice. She ran toward the danger, alone. But Lily had woken unexpectedly, padded downstairs for water, and found Maria leaving. Before she could send her back, the girl insisted on coming. She refused to let Maria drive off alone, terrified she would disappear like her mother had years ago. Maria didn't have the heart, or the time, to fight her. Now Lily shifted groggily in the seat. Maria, where are we going? Maria swallowed hard. To end something, she whispered. So you never have to be afraid again. The warehouse. Miguel had chosen their old meeting place, a rotting warehouse on the outskirts of the abandoned industrial district. A place that smelled of rust and betrayal. Maria parked the truck behind an overgrown fence, pulled Lily close, and kissed her head. No matter what happens, don't come inside. Promise me. I promise, Lily whispered, though her hands were shaking. Maria stepped into the hollow building. Echoes of dripping water filled the space. Her breath turned cold in her chest. And then she saw him. Miguel stepped from the shadows, dressed in black, his hair slicked back, his smile thin and venomous. Well, he drawled, the prodigal wife returns. I was never your wife, Maria said, voice firm. Miguel chuckled. True, but you were mine to break. And you ran. With my money. It wasn't yours, she snapped. It was stolen. And I paid your debt with my life for years. Miguel spread his hands. And yet here we are. You came back. Maria forced herself not to flinch as he approached. I came to end this. Leave John. Leave the children. And I will. Miguel slapped her, so fast she didn't even see it coming. You don't negotiate with me, he hissed. She straightened, tasting blood. You won't hurt them. Miguel smirked. I already sent someone to the farm. Maria froze. By now, he said, they're surrounding the property. If I don't come back, your sweet farmer and all 13 little brats will vanish. Her breath caught. No, you want them safe. Miguel stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Come home with me, quietly, or they die. Her vision blurred. Her legs trembled. She felt herself drowning again, trapped, powerless. And then, a voice cut through the air. Step away from her. Maria turned. John stood at the entrance, rifle in hand, eyes blazing with something she had never seen before. Not anger, not fear, but a quiet, unstoppable fury. Miguel laughed softly. Ah, the farmer. Lily burst from the truck at the sound of John's voice. Daddy. John's heart wrenched, but he didn't dare look away from Miguel. Let them go, John said. This is between you and her. Miguel pointed a gun at him. No, John. This is between me and anyone foolish enough to love her. Maria gasped. John set his jaw. That's the thing, he said quietly. Loving her isn't foolish. It's the first right choice I've made in years. The fight. Miguel fired. The sound ripped through the warehouse. Lily screamed. Maria lunged. The bullet grazed John's arm as he rolled behind a concrete pillar. Pain blasted through him, but he stayed focused, breath steady. Miguel fired again. Sparks flew off metal. Dust exploded into the air. John called out, Maria, get Lily out. But Maria didn't run. She grabbed a rusted iron bar from the floor and swung it at Miguel. The metal cracked against his wrist, sending his gun clattering across the concrete. Miguel roared and lunged for her. John sprinted across the floor and slammed into Miguel, knocking him backward. They crashed into a stack of crates, wood splintering around them. Miguel fought like a man fueled by obsession and rage. John fought like a father with everything to lose. The struggle was brutal: fists, elbows, shattered wood, blood. Miguel drove a knife from his boot upward, catching John's side. John grunted, pain ripping through him, but he grabbed Miguel's arm and slammed it hard against the floor. The knife skittered away. Maria ran to it. Miguel twisted, grabbing John's throat, squeezing with both hands, teeth bared. John's vision blurred. The world dimmed. His strength faltered. Then, Maria screamed, "Let him go." She drove the knife into Miguel's shoulder. Miguel howled in agony and fell back, clutching the wound. John collapsed, coughing, gasping for air. Miguel staggered to his feet, fury wild in his eyes. This isn't over. He lunged again, but Lily stepped between him and Maria, holding nothing but her stuffed rabbit, tears streaming down her face. "Stop hurting my family." Miguel froze. Just a second. But that second was all John needed. He surged forward and delivered a punch so powerful it sent Miguel crashing unconscious to the ground. The warehouse fell silent. Only their breaths filled the space, ragged, shaking, alive. Police arrived 20 minutes later, summoned by Lily from John's phone. Miguel was taken away, along with the men he'd sent to the farm, already intercepted by deputies. Maria sat beside John on the back of the ambulance as medics stitched his arm. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. He looked at her softly. "There was never a world where I didn't." Her eyes filled. "You almost died because of me." John shook his head. "No, I lived because of you. Before you, I was drowning in grief. You didn't bring danger, you brought life back into this house." He reached for her hand. "I'm not afraid of your past, Maria. I'm afraid of losing you." Tears traced down her cheeks. "You won't," she breathed. "Not now. Not ever." Lily threw her arms around them both. "Can we go home now?" she whispered. John smiled. "Yes, sweetheart. We're going home. A new beginning." The farm was quiet that night. The children surrounded Maria and Lily with hugs and questions and relief. The chaos felt warm, alive, whole. Later, after the house had settled into sleep, Maria walked onto the porch. The moon cast silver light across the fields. John joined her, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. "You know," he murmured, "I used to think love was something that happened once. If you were lucky." Maria leaned into him. "And now I know it's something you choose every day. Even when it's hard. Especially then." She smiled, soft and luminous. "Then choose me," she whispered. "Choose us." John turned her toward him. "I do," he said. "Every day. For the rest of my life." Their kiss was gentle, slow, certain, deep with everything they had survived. Thunder rumbled somewhere far off, but the night stayed clear. For the first time in years, Maria felt safe. For the first time in years, John felt whole. And for the first time ever, their family felt complete. Together. Unbroken. Home.